Answerable.
Answerable.
The agency is answerable to the governor.
Answering machine.
Answering machine.
Ant.
Ant.
Unt.
A
servant.
Disinfectant.
Expectant.
Pleasant.
Antacid.
Antacid.
Antagonism.
Antagonism.
The antagonism between the army and other military groups.
His antagonism towards the press.
Antagonist.
Antagonist.
Antagonistic.
Antagonistic.
An antagonistic attitude.
Antagonistic to new ideas.
Antagonize.
Antagonize.
Do not antagonize your customers.
Antarctic.
Antarctic.
Antarctic Circle.
Antarctic Circle.
Ante.
Ante.
They've upped the ante by making a $120 million bid to buy the company.
Ante.
Small firms that want to expand must ante up large legal fees.
Ante.
Antedate. Antenatal. Anteater.
Anteater.
Antebellum.
Antebellum.
An antebellum plantation.
Antecedent.
Antecedent.
Historical antecedents.
Antechamber.
Antechamber.
Antedate.
Antedate.
The economic troubles antedate the current administration. Antediluvian.
Antediluvian.
Antediluvian ideas about women.
Antediluvian. Antediluvian.
Antelope.
Antelope.
Antenatal.
Antenatal.
An antenatal clinic.
Regular antenatal care. Many young mothers do not attend antenatal classes.
Antenna.
Antenna.
Television antennas.
Anterior.
Anterior.
Anterior vertebrae.
Anteroom.
Anteroom.
Anthem.
Anthem.
The Rolling Stones' Satisfaction was an anthem for a generation.
Anthemic.
Anthemic.
Anthemic rock music.
Anther.
Anther.
Anthill.
Anthill.
Anthology.
Anthology.
An anthology of American literature.
Anthracite.
Anthracite. Anthracite.
Anthrax.
Anthrax.
Anthropa.
Anthropomorphic.
Anthropoid.
Anthropoid.
Anthropology.
Anthropology.
Anthropomorphism.
Anthropomorphism.
Anti. 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 Anti.
Anti-nuclear.
Anti-American.
Anticlimax.
Antimatter. Antifreeze.
Antiseptic.
Anti-aircraft.
Anti-aircraft.
Anti-aircraft missiles.
Antibiotic.
Antibiotic.
Antibody.
Antibody.
Anti-choice.
Anti-choice.
Anticipate.
Anticipate.
Sales are better than anticipated.
The schedule isn't final, but we don't anticipate many changes.
We don't anticipate any problems.
A good speaker is able to anticipate an audience's needs and concerns.
This year, we anticipate that our expenses will be 15% greater.
It is anticipated that the research will have many different practical applications.
I didn't anticipate having to do the cooking myself. Daniel was eagerly anticipating her arrival. Copernicus anticipated in part the discoveries of the 17th and 18th centuries. Copernicus anticipated in part the discoveries of the 17th and 18th centuries.
The anticipatory atmosphere of a big college football game.
Anticipation.
Anticipation.
She waited in eager anticipation for Robert to arrive. Taylor was excited and full of anticipation at the prospect of the trip. The workers have called off their strike in anticipation of a pay offer.
Anti-clerical.
Anti-clerical.
Anticlimax.
Anticlimax.
Going back to work after a month travelling in China was bound to be an anticlimax.
Anticlockwise.
Anti-clockwise.
Turn the lid anti-clockwise.
Antics.
Antics.
We're all growing tired of his childish antics.
Anticyclone.
Anticyclone.
Antidepressant.
Antidepressant.
Antidote.
Antidote.
There is no known antidote to a bite from this snake. Laughter, the antidote to stress.
Antifreeze.
Antifreeze.
Antifungal. Antifungal.
Antigen.
Antigen.
Anti-globalization. Anti-globalization. Anti-globalization protests.
Antihero.
Antihero.
Antihistamine.
Antihistamine.
Anti-inflammatory.
Anti-inflammatory. Anti-inflammatory painkillers for treating arthritis.
Anti-lock braking system.
Anti-lock braking system.
Antimatter.
Antimatter.
Antimony.
Antimony.
Antioxidant.
Antioxidant.
Antiparticle.
Antiparticle.
Antipasto.
Antipasto.
Antipathetic.
Antipathetic.
It's human nature to be antipathetic to change.
Antipathy.
Antipathy.
A growing antipathy towards the government. There's always been a certain amount of antipathy between the two doctors. Anti-personnel.
Anti-personnel.
Antiperspirant.
Antiperspirant.
Antiquarian.
Antiquarian.
Antiquated.
Antiquated.
Antiquated laws.
Antique.
Antique.
An antique rosewood desk. The palace is full of priceless antiques. They bought the clock at an antique shop in Bath. An antique dealer.
Antiquity.
Antiquity.
The common household fork was nearly unknown in antiquity.
A building of great antiquity. A collection of Roman antiquities.
Antiretroviral drug. Antiretroviral drug. Antiretroviral drug.
Anti-Semite.
Anti-Semite.
He made a few anti-Semitic remarks.
Anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism.
The struggle against fascism and anti-Semitism.
Antiseptic.
Antiseptic.
He dabbed the cut with antiseptic. Mint is a mild antiseptic. An antiseptic cream. Some herbs have antiseptic qualities.
Antisocial.
Antisocial.
She was finding it hard to cope with her son's increasing antisocial behaviour.
Smoking is an antisocial habit. If I don't go tonight, everyone will accuse me of being antisocial.
I got fed up with the low pay and antisocial hours.
Anti-tank.
Anti-tank.
Antithesis.
Antithesis.
This is not democratic. It is the antithesis of democracy.
Antithetical.
Antithetical.
This violence is completely antithetical to the teaching of the Church.
Antitoxin.
Antitoxin.
Antitrust.
Antitrust.
New, tougher antitrust laws.
An antitrust investigation.
Antivirus software.
Antivirus software.
You need to update your antivirus software regularly.
Antler.
Antler.
Antonym.
Antonym.
A dictionary of synonyms and antonyms.
Antsy.
Antsy. Antsy.
Anus.
Anus.
Anvil.
Anvil.
Anxiety.
Anxiety.
There is considerable anxiety among staff about job losses.
There is growing public anxiety over levels of air pollution in our cities.
The fear of unemployment can be a source of deep anxiety to people.
His feelings of anxiety.
A high level of anxiety was created by the introduction of cameras into the factory.
It can help if you discuss your anxieties with someone.
I nearly fell in my anxiety to get downstairs quickly.
Anxious.
Anxious.
He was a bit anxious about the safety of the machinery. We were anxious for you.
She was anxious that it might be cancer.
She gave me an anxious look.
We had an anxious couple of weeks waiting for the test results.
There was an anxious moment when the plane suddenly dropped.
The company is anxious to improve its image. He seemed most anxious to speak to me alone. The President is anxious not to have another crisis.
Why was she so anxious for me to stay? We were all anxious for news.
Both sides were anxious that the agreement should be signed as quickly as possible.
She waited anxiously by the phone.
Any.
Any.
Have you got any money? Do you need any further information?
Are any of the paintings for sale?
They didn't invite any of us. Are there any other questions?
They haven't shown any interest at all in my research. The universities have shown few, if any, signs of a willingness to change.
Any child who breaks the rules will be punished.
Always check the details carefully before you sign any written agreement.
I can see you any time on Monday. If I can help in any way, let me know. You can choose any of the books on the list.
This excuse was as good as any other.
They're going to need any help they can get.
She's not just any actress, she's one of the best. I can't run any faster.
Are you feeling any better?
It used to be quite cheap to fly there, but not anymore.
He was told he wasn't wanted any longer.
We tried talking to him, but that didn't help any.
Anybody.
Anybody.
Anyhow.
Anyhow.
The scandal could damage her reputation, but the press reported it anyhow.
I've never been to a circus, not recently anyhow. The cupboard would hardly close with all the shoes thrown in anyhow.
Any more.
Any more.
Nick doesn't live here anymore.
I don't really like her anymore. You're describing a world that just doesn't exist anymore.
Anyone.
Anyone.
Anyone could win tonight.
They offer help and advice to anyone interested in becoming a teacher. If anyone sees Lisa, ask her to call me.
Anyone else who is interested in going on the trip should see me at the end of this lesson. Does anyone want a drink?
Is there anyone new coming to tonight's meeting?
Do you know anyone else who wants a ticket?
I went to the bar, but there wasn't anyone there.
I haven't spoken to anyone all day.
I think people are dressing way too casually. I mean, shorts in the office, anyone?
Any place.
Any place.
I can't imagine living anyplace else now.
Anything.
Anything.
You can buy anything you want. He was prepared to do anything to make a bit of money.
Anything would be better than staying at home.
You can write about swimming, skiing, or anything else you enjoy doing.
Is there anything I can do to help?
Do you want anything from the shops?
Would you like anything else to eat? We didn't have anything to eat for 3 days.
Don't do anything until we get there.
Maria is anything but stupid.
You don't look anything like your mother.
If you're anything like me, you'll want to be where the action is.
We don't have anything like enough money to buy a new car. He was as nice as anything to me. He was as nice as anything to me. Would you like a drink or anything? From what other people were wearing, it looked like anything goes.
I wouldn't go back there for anything.
We all encouraged him like anything. Sam didn't seem too disappointed at losing. If anything, he seemed relieved that it was all over.
Yes, of course, anything you say.
Anytime.
Anytime.
Call me anytime. I'm always home. They should arrive any time between noon and 3 p.m.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Catherine wasn't sure the book was the right one, but she bought it anyway.
This idea probably won't work, but let's try it anyway.
They didn't have any trainers in my size, and anyway, I'd already decided I'd rather save the money.
I hope you haven't told anyone. No, who would believe me anyway?
Let's think about it for a while, for a few days anyway.
There seems to have been a technical problem. Anyway, that's what they told me.
He got lost and spent hours looking for the station, and anyway, it was past midnight by the time he got home.
Anyway, why didn't you call the police?
Anyway, let's leave that for the moment and look at this month's profit figures.
Anyway, how are you?
Anyway, I must be going now.
Anyways.
Anyways.
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
Sit anywhere you like. You can buy clothes like these anywhere.
I don't want to live in London, but I'd be happy living anywhere else.
Do you need anywhere to stay for the night?
Did you go anywhere exotic on vacation this year?
Have you been anywhere else in Spain?
I can't find my passport anywhere. I wasn't anywhere near him when he fell. I don't think these figures are anywhere near accurate. She could have been anywhere between 45 and 60 years of age.
We can accommodate anywhere between 60 and 300 people.
You won't get anywhere without qualifications.
You can try writing to complain, but I don't think it will get you anywhere.
He's a nice enough lad, but he's not going anywhere.
Anzac.
Anzac.
AOB.
AOB.
AOK.
AOK.
We took the car in for a check and it was A-OK. Everything's been going A-OK since Jack got home.
Aorta.
Aorta.
AP. AP.
Apace.
Apace.
Expansion of the company has continued apace.
Apart.
Apart.
Place the two posts 6 meters apart. They have offices in countries as far apart as India and Peru.
The police try to keep rival supporters apart at all matches.
A couple of men started fighting, and we had to pull them apart.
Joel stood apart from the group, frowning.
The whole thing comes apart so that you can clean it.
They took the engine apart to see what was wrong. I try to keep my work and private life as far apart as possible.
Our birthdays are exactly a month apart. The children have never been apart before.
My wife and I are living apart at the moment.
He's never been apart from his mother.
It just fell apart in my hands.
He drives around in an old car that's falling apart. He lost his job and his marriage fell apart.
The country's economy is in danger of falling apart. The play portrays a good marriage torn apart by external forces.
I realized we were still worlds apart.
Louis and his father drifted apart after he moved to New York.
Joking apart, they did do quite a good job for us.
The car industry apart, most industries are now seeing an improvement in their economic performance.
Her unusual lifestyle set her apart as a child.
Apart from.
Apart from.
We didn't see anyone all day, apart from a couple of kids on the beach. Apart from the ending, it's a really good film. Apart from his earnings as a football coach, he also owns and runs a chain of sports shops. Quite apart from the cost, we need to think about how much time the job will take.
Apartheid.
Apartheid.
Apartment.
Apartment.
She lives in a small apartment.
I have never been in the prince's private apartments before.
The presidential apartments.
Apartment block.
Apartment block.
Apathetic.
Apathetic.
She felt too apathetic even to move.
How can you be so apathetic about the world and its problems?
Apathy.
Apathy.
The campaign failed because of public apathy.
Ape.
Ape.
He could ape his teachers perfectly.
Cheap clothes which ape the high fashions of the day.
Aperitif.
Aperitif.
Aperture.
Aperture.
Apeshit.
Apeshit.
Apex.
Apex.
The apex of the roof.
The apex of a pyramid. The king was at the apex of society. He was at the apex of his career.
Aphasia.
Aphasia.
Aphid.
Aphid.
Aphorism.
Aphorism.
Aphrodisiac.
Aphrodisiac.
A fruit that is believed to have aphrodisiac properties.
Apiece.
Apiece.
The pictures are worth about £10,000 apiece. The two top teams have 10 points apiece.
Aplenty.
Aplenty.
There was food aplenty.
Aplomb.
Aplomb.
Ms. Sharp handled their questions with great aplomb.
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse.
Anti-nuclear protesters who fear the apocalypse.
A lot of investors now fear a stock market apocalypse. A lot of investors now fear a stock market apocalypse.
Apocalyptic.
Apocalyptic.
The novel presents us with an apocalyptic vision of the future.
Before them was an apocalyptic landscape of burnt villages and bomb craters. Apocryphal.
Apocryphal.
Apogee.
Apogee.
His political career reached its apogee in the 1960s.
Apolitical.
Apolitical.
A group of apolitical young professional people. An apolitical organization.
Apologetic.
Apologetic.
The manager was very apologetic about everything.
She gave me an apologetic smile. Dan came in looking very apologetic.
I know, she said apologetically.
Apologia.
Apologia.
An apologia for the Christian Church.
Apologist.
Apologist.
An apologist for socialism.
Apologize.
Apologize.
I'm so sorry, I do apologize.
I think you should apologize to your brother.
He later apologized for his behavior.
I apologize for losing my temper.
Apology.
Apology.
The minister had to issue a formal public apology for his remarks.
She finally received an apology from the company.
An apology to passengers for any inconvenience caused.
Edward can't be here today, but he sends his apologies. I quickly made my apologies and left.
We make no apology for defending our members' interests. That is our job.
An apology for Christianity.
They served us up an apology for a meal.
Apoplectic.
Apoplectic.
The colonel was apoplectic with rage.
Apoplexy.
Apoplexy.
Apostasy.
Apostasy.
Apostate.
Apostate.
A posteriori.
A posteriori.
Apostle.
Apostle.
A great apostle of non-violence.
Apostolic.
Apostolic.
Apostrophe.
Apostrophe.
Apothecary.
Apothecary.
Apotheosis.
Apotheosis.
The apotheosis of romantic art. The apotheosis of his career.
App. App. You can download an app that reminds you of things you have to do.
Appall.
Appall.
The way we kill animals appalls a lot of people.
The decision to execute the two men has appalled many politicians.
Appalled.
Appalled.
I was appalled by what I saw.
He was appalled at how dirty the place was.
When I heard what had happened, I was absolutely appalled.
Appalling.
Appalling.
She suffered appalling injuries. He was kept in appalling conditions in prison.
An appalling famine.
The weather was absolutely appalling.
He behaved appallingly.
An appallingly difficult job.
Appaloosa.
Appaloosa.
Apparatchik.
Apparatchik.
A Communist Party apparatchik.
Apparatus.
Apparatus.
Astronauts have special breathing apparatus. The tax will require a massive administrative apparatus.
The state apparatus has become corrupt.
The apparatus of government.
Apparel.
Apparel.
She looked lovely, despite her strange apparel.
Men wearing protective apparel.
We sell a full range of sports apparel.
Apparent.
Apparent.
It soon became apparent that we had a major problem.
It is apparent from scientific studies that the drug has some fairly nasty side effects. It was apparent to everyone that he was seriously ill.
The difference in quality was immediately apparent.
He left suddenly, for no apparent reason.
He did well in his exams despite his apparent lack of interest in his work.
Apparently.
Apparently.
Apparently, the company is losing a lot of money.
I wasn't there, but apparently it went well.
She turned to face him, her anger apparently gone.
Apparition.
Apparition.
He stared at the strange apparition before him. A ghostly apparition of a man.
Appeal.
Appeal.
The police have issued a new appeal for information.
All the organizations involved have sent urgent appeals to the government asking for extra funding.
The girl's family have made a public appeal for help to try and catch her killer.
An appeal to the army to not use too much force.
The appeal has nearly reached its target of £100,000. An appeal to the European Court of Human Rights.
The sentence was reduced to 3 years on appeal.
What is the particular appeal of this island? The programme has a very wide appeal. The film has great appeal for young audiences.
She's definitely got sex appeal.
Church and community leaders have appealed for calm. Farmers have appealed to the government for help.
The police have appealed to anyone with information to come forward and talk to them.
She is not happy with the decision and plans to appeal. Both men intend to appeal against their convictions. Appealing to the referee does not often result in a decision being changed.
The program appeals to young children.
The idea of working abroad really appeals to me. You could always try appealing to his better nature.